My roommate stole my rent money and spent it on a fucking PS5. My name is Gaurav, and I'm a 27-year-old software engineer living in Boston. I've been sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate, Ishaan, for about a year now. He's also a software engineer, and we met through a mutual friend. Everything was cool between us until last month. That's when the shitstorm began. Ishaan was always a bit of an oddball, but I never thought he was capable of pulling the crap he did. Last month, I got home from a long day at work, eager to unwind with some Netflix and a cold beer. But as soon as I walked through the door, I noticed something was off. The apartment was eerily quiet. Usually Ishaan would be blasting some Bollywood music or chatting on the phone with his family back in India. I walked into the living room, and there it was, a brand new PS5 sitting in front of our TV. Now, don't get me wrong, I love gaming as much as the next guy, but we had agreed to save our extra cash for emergencies or shared expenses. A PS5 was definitely not on that list. I went to Ishaan's room and knocked on his door. "Hey man, what's up with the PS5? He opened the door with a big grin on his face. "Surprise, I got us a PS5, now we can game together." "That's cool and all, but how did you afford it?" I asked, already feeling a knot forming in my stomach. He hesitated for a moment before replying, "I had some extra cash saved up." Something didn't add up, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I decided to let it go for the night and enjoy a few rounds of FIFA with him, but the nagging feeling in the back of my mind wouldn't go away. The next morning, I woke up early to check my bank account, just to make sure everything was in order. When I logged in, my heart sank. The rent money, which I had transferred to Ishaan a few days ago, was gone. I double-checked the transactions, and there it was, a withdrawal for the exact amount of our rent. Fuming, I stormed into Ishaan's room, waking him up. "Ishaan, where the fuck is our rent money?" He rubbed his eyes and tried to act innocent. "What are you talking about?" "The rent money I gave you. It's gone from my account, and you have a brand new PS5. Did you spend our rent money on that thing?" He finally admitted it, but his explanation was infuriating. "Look, Gaurav, I've been stressed out with work, and I needed something to relax. I thought the PS5 would help." "Are you fucking serious? You spent our rent money on a goddamn gaming console? How the hell are we supposed to pay rent now?" I couldn't believe the audacity of this guy. We had a heated argument, and I left the apartment to cool off. I needed to figure out what to do next because there was no way I was covering his share of the rent. After a few hours of pacing around the park, I decided to call our landlord, Mrs. Patel. She was a sweet old lady who had always been understanding, but I wasn't sure how she'd react to this mess. "Hello, Mrs. Patel. It's Gaurav. I have something important to discuss with you." She could sense the urgency in my voice. "What's wrong, dear?" I explained the situation to her, and she was surprisingly calm. "Gaurav, I understand your frustration. Ishaan's behavior is unacceptable. I'll talk to him, but you two need to sort this out. I'm giving you a week to come up with the rent." A week. That was all we had. I went back to the apartment and found Ishaan sulking in his room. "Mrs. Patel gave us a week to come up with the rent. We need to figure this out." "I'll sell the PS5, he muttered. "Good. And you better find a way to make up for this bullshit," I snapped before heading to my room. I couldn't stand to look at him right now. Selling the PS5 was the obvious first step, but it wasn't enough to cover the entire rent. We needed a plan to come up with the remaining amount. That's when I remembered my friend Arjun. He owned a small catering business and always needed extra hands for weekend events. I called him up and explained the situation. "Arjun, I know this is a lot to ask, but do you have any gigs coming up where Ishaan and I can help out? We need to make some quick cash." Arjun, being the good friend he was, agreed without hesitation. "I have a wedding catering this weekend. If you guys can help, I'll pay you both." Relieved, I told Ishaan about the plan. He agreed, albeit reluctantly. I didn't care about his reluctance. We needed the money. The weekend arrived, and we worked our asses off at the wedding. It was exhausting, but the pay was decent. Arjun even gave us a little extra when he heard about the whole PS5 debacle. By the end of the weekend, we had just enough to cover the rent. With the rent money in hand, I went to Mrs. Patel to pay her. She was relieved and thanked me for handling the situation. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, but I knew things couldn't go back to the way they were with Ishaan. When I got back to the apartment, I sat Ishaan down for serious talk. Look, Ishaan, I can't trust you after what you did. I'm moving out at the end of the month. He looked down, ashamed. I'm really sorry, Gaurav. I messed up. Yeah, you did, but I hope you learn from this. You can't just fuck around with other people's money. I found a new place with a more reliable roommate and moved out as planned. Ishaan and I haven't spoken since, and honestly, I don't miss him. It was a tough lesson, but I learned to be more cautious about who I trust with important responsibilities. So that's my story, Reddit. Sometimes people do stupid shit and you have to deal with the fallout, but you come out stronger on the other side. Thanks for reading.